Okay, so now we know the shape of our artwork. The next step is to make sure that our metal mesh is secured to our surface. And by doing that, we will just be using our staple gun if you have one, or we can use nails to create the same effect that staple gun does. So as you can see, I'm just using simple nails. I will add a photo as well of the nails, so you can go to the shop and buy them, or if you have at home, you can use them from home, whichever. It doesn't have to be specific nails to use. And then I kind of secure it to the surface the way I wanted. I shape my metal mesh how I want it. Just remember to be careful because it's quite sharp and it can scratch your hands, and yeah, you don't want that. If it's easier for you, maybe use gloves. I don't like to use gloves. I don't feel very comfortable. I can't feel the material properly, so I take my chances. And what we do is then we just shape it, secure it to the surface, and that's about it. That's for this part of the artwork. For the next part, we will be applying our plaster bandage, and I will be talking you through every step. But as you can see, metal mesh, it's quite easy to shape, and that's what we have for now. And so now we've shaped it. It's all nice and shaped. I know how it's gonna look like. And then I take plaster bandage and I will be applying it all over. What we need for that is some water, plaster bandage, scissors, and you can cover all the place with like a bin bag or some sort of fabric that you won't be needing. I just do it like that on the floor, and then usually when I finish my creative process, I clean everything properly because, as you might remember, this is my living room, so I have to mop the floors and clean everything properly. If you work in a studio, then congratulations, you don't have to do all that unless you like your studio to be really nice and clean, which I don't think I would, to be honest, because I'm quite a messy creator. When I work, it's all messy, and that's how I do it. In real life, I'm very tidy. When I create, not as much. Okay, and then just apply it nicely onto your surface. Make sure everything is covered. Then dip your brush in water and smooth everything out. Okay, and so what I will be doing now and what I'm doing now is applying plaster bandage all over the metal mesh, all over the artwork. First, I will be applying it on top and from one side, and then when it dries, I usually keep it overnight to dry. It dries quite quickly, but just to be sure that it's completely dry and there is no moisture left, I leave it overnight. And after that, I can start applying it from the other side as well. And I usually apply it everywhere, even on the frame as well, so I make sure everything is covered, that everything looks exactly the same. And when I apply paste, texture paste, it's everything is even, everything is it's easier for me to work with. Otherwise, if I have one surface with plaster bandage, then it's wooden surface, then something else, it's quite difficult to interpret textured paste all over so it looks the same. So for me it's easier to do like so. If you don't want to do that, it's up to you. I just show you my process of how I'm doing it. I've said many times that this is one of my favorite things to do. I love working with plaster bandage. It's fun, it's very easy, it's very therapeutic, and it's just, yeah, I just love it. I love working with it. And it's very important that you always use water, and I like to use brush as well. You don't have to use your brush, you can use your fingers, just dip them in water and try to smooth everything out. I like to use both. Sometimes I use my fingers, sometimes I use my brush. Usually if I can't get to certain places, smaller brush helps a lot. But don't panic. If you work with a plaster bandage for the first time, it might be a little bit tricky in some places, but it's okay. Just take your time, do it slowly, and you'll see that your technique will improve each time you work with it. Make sure not to rush yourself. If you feel like you need to have a little break, and just have a break, leave it for the next day. But try not to rush the process, because um, the better you do it in the beginning, the less smoothing out you will need to do later on, the less fixing some tiny mistakes and bumps and everything you will need to do later on in the process. So sometimes I don't feel like doing stuff too carefully, and then I regret it because I doubled my workload. So it's just taking it slowly and enjoying the process. That's the most important thing. Okay, so now we can see that it's almost all finished. We've covered everything, every little space. I think I haven't missed a bit, not even the tiniest little place on this artwork. So everything is covered in plaster bandage. Now we just need to wait until it sets nicely, until it's completely dry, and we can proceed. Okay, and now that our plaster bandage is fully dry, what we need is PVA glue, we need some water, we need mixed filler, ready mixed filler, or you can use plaster of Paris, whichever you have. Filler doesn't have to be any sort of brand, so you can use any whichever you have. And then I've noticed that I don't really have my PVA glue left, so I've decided that the first layer of the filler, what's gonna be, it's I'm gonna be using my filler mixed with a little bit of water, just so it gets this nice smooth texture and it's easier to apply. If you don't have your PVA glue, don't worry about it. You can mix your filler with some water and it will be perfectly fine. If you want for better durability, then you will have to add some glue, because in my experience it shows that adding glue just adds this extra durability to your artwork, and it's a lot stronger, and yeah, you can work with it a little bit more rough. You don't have to be as careful. So whichever suits you. I've decided to go with just filler and water as I ran out of my glue, and I'm applying a very thin layer of it all over. So from the back, from the front, in every little crease, everywhere where I can see filler needs to be applied. That's what I'm doing. I'm in between dipping my brush in water just to try and smooth out the textured paste itself. I don't want it to dry, clumpy and lumpy, because later on it just adds a little bit extra hours or hour on the sanding time, which you don't really want to do. So it's always better to smooth your artwork in the beginning rather than trying to sand off the excess filler. So yeah, basically this is what I'm doing. Try to apply your filler everywhere you see on the sides. If you feel like you want to put a little bit more in some places, just add. It's no problem at all. You can later on sand it down. If you didn't apply enough, don't worry as well, because there's always second layer and you can always add some extra filler in places where you need to. So now I went onto the front side as well, and I'm doing exactly the same. I just waited for it to dry, and then I moved to the front side of the artwork to apply my filler. And then I waited for at least 24 hours. I will say that I waited a little bit longer just because I was too busy and a little bit lazy to continue with this artwork, so I decided to take a little break. And I had some time to go to the hardware store and buy myself a new jar, or however you call it. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it, of PVA glue. And then I just mix everything. Don't add water because PVA glue is quite it works the same as water. Basically, it will make your textured paste nice and smooth. You will see here in a second. Here you go. This is what we want to achieve with our textured paste. And then what I did was I just poured it quite generously onto the artwork, onto the dry artwork, and then you just take your brush, whichever is more comfortable for you to use, dip it in the water and just smooth everything out, spread it out, smooth it out, make sure that there are no lumps. If there are, maybe take them out, because it will save you time on sanding later on, and it will be a lot easier to sand it down to a nice smooth finish. And then we continue.